Have you ever felt like the world is moving so fast you barely recognize yourself anymore? Every morning it's the same. The phone, the job, the news, everything seems to control us, instead of the other way around. I used to feel that way too, until I realized we're living in the age of machines, and the human soul has never been more tested. AI can write music, paint pictures, even create. But it still doesn't understand honesty, faith, or the warmth of a genuine hug. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more we crave what machines don't have the life inside a soul. That's why I call this the battle for the soul. Imagine this. One day, every skill you have could be replaced. What would still make you special? It's not your degree. It's not your productivity. It's how you feel and what you believe. We need to relearn how to trust, to be grateful, and to fight for the values no algorithm can copy: love, courage, and compassion. A mentor once told me, in a world where AI can do almost everything, humans are only different when they know how to love and take responsibility. This age is no longer a race for skills, it's a race for meaning. And only those who keep their souls bright and their hearts awake will stay truly free amid the storm of machines. I know when people hear the word spiritual, they think of incense, bells, or hours of silent meditation. But true spirituality isn't on a yoga mat or a necklace of beads. It's in the battles you face every single day, the ones nobody sees but you. A teacher once told me, I was say once, everyone is fighting a silent war. How they fight it defines their soul. That battle isn't against others, it's against yourself, your laziness, your fear, your habits that quietly kill your dreams. When you fight off the urge to sleep in and wake up an hour earlier, that's spirituality. When you choose silence over anger, that's spirituality. When you stand up after failure and still believe in good things, that's a spiritual victory. I once met a soldier who had returned from Afghanistan. He was quiet, distant. I asked, "What's the scariest part of war?" He said, "It's not the bullets, it's when you start losing faith in why you're fighting." That answer stayed with me, because in everyday life we all have our own battlefields: work, family, pressure, judgment. And sometimes the greatest danger isn't the enemy outside, it's when we stop believing we're fighting for what's right. True spirituality isn't about escaping pain, it's about understanding it. It's knowing that every time you hold back your anger, forgive someone, or forgive yourself, you win an invisible war inside your soul. The world doesn't need more people preaching wisdom. It needs spiritual warriors, people who fight quietly, stay kind through the storm, and train their hearts every single day. Have you ever asked yourself what you're really living for? Not the usual answers: for my family, for work, for responsibility. I mean the deepest reason you wake up in the morning and don't feel empty. I've met people who work 12 hours a day, people who make a fortune, and when I ask, "Why do you do it?" they pause, then say, "Because I have to." But have to will never carry you far. Only want to believe in and choose to will help you endure the storm. A friend of mine once fell into depression after losing his job. He sat alone for months in a small Vancouver apartment, barely talking to anyone. One day, his 6-year-old daughter said, "Dad, I don't need you to make lots of money. I just need you to be happy." Those words saved him. He started exercising, found a new job, and most importantly, found a reason to fight again. Not to prove anything, but to live as a father in the truest sense. When you have a big enough reason, you can endure any hardship. When you don't, even the smallest things can break you. Remember this: there's no new land left to discover in the world. Everything already belongs to someone except the world inside you. If you want to expand your world, start with your own soul. Take a few minutes today and ask yourself honestly, what is worth fighting for every single day? Because once you find that answer, every pain will have meaning, and every struggle will become a journey of the soul. Have you ever wondered why you wake up each morning? Not because of an alarm clock or bills, but what truly makes you want to live today. I've coached hundreds of people in their 30 seconds and 40 seconds, people with stable jobs, good families, yet an empty feeling inside. They tell me, "I don't even know why I'm doing all of this anymore." That's the moment when meaning disappears, the body keeps living, but the soul grows tired. One close friend of mine lost his job at 45. He felt lost, unsure of his worth. But during those long, empty months, he began volunteering, teaching immigrant children in his neighborhood for free. And he told me, "I've never felt more alive." His old job gave him money, teaching gave him meaning. Money feeds the body, meaning feeds the soul. Picture this. You're walking through a long, dark night, holding a single lantern. That lantern is your why. If you know why you live, you can face any how. Lose that why, and every road feels the same, leading only to exhaustion. Modern behavioral science agrees. People with a clear sense of purpose recover from illness, stress, and crisis far better than those without one. Because meaning isn't just an emotion, it's energy. This world isn't short of talented people. It's short of people who know why they need to be talented. If you want to change your life, start with this question. What am I living for? Once you find the answer, everything else, money, success, fame, will follow naturally. Because meaning is the one power no machine will ever be able to program. Have you ever felt like something invisible is controlling your life? Not another person, but a system. A smooth, sophisticated system that makes you believe you're free, when in truth, you're just following invisible programming. That's the matrix of our age. The matrix isn't a movie, or robots, or wires. It's the social media feed that makes you compare yourself every day. It's the ads that convince you to buy things you don't need, just to impress people you don't even know. It's the fear of falling behind that keeps you running endlessly without knowing what you're chasing. And worst of all, it's the silence inside you, when your soul feels suffocated by the noise of the world. I once coached a successful man. He had everything. But he said, "I feel like I'm living in a golden cage." He worked 14 hours a day and said, "I have no other choice." But in truth, he had already surrendered his choices to the matrix of expectations, norms, and the fear of being judged. Escaping the matrix doesn't mean retreating to the mountains or abandoning technology. It means learning to stay awake in a noisy world. It means pausing, taking a deep breath, and asking yourself, is what I'm doing right now truly me? Every time you dare to ask that question, you cut through one invisible chain. Because freedom begins with awareness. You can't fight a system you can't see, but you can free yourself from it through independent thinking, gratitude, and the courage to live truthfully. That's how you keep your soul breathing, feeling, and free. In a world increasingly run by algorithms, have you ever stopped in the middle of a busy day and whispered to yourself, "Thank you, I'm still here"? It sounds simple, but in a world filled with pressure, gratitude is the strongest medicine we have, and it's completely free. I once coached a 8-year-old marketing director. She was successful but constantly tense. She told me, "I don't feel happy, even though I have everything." I asked her one thing. When you wake up, do you ever feel grateful that you can still breathe, that you still have a chance to love? She went silent for a long time. 3 weeks later, she emailed me. I started writing a gratitude journal every morning. And strangely, my work is the same, but I feel peaceful. That's the power of gratitude. Research from Harvard University shows that people who practice daily gratitude have higher serotonin levels, sleep better, and are up to 30% less likely to experience depression. Because when you're grateful, you stop focusing on what's missing and start noticing what's already full. Picture life as a wide field. If you only stare at the empty patches, it looks barren. But if you kneel and look closely, you'll see small sprouts growing quietly, persistently. And every act of gratitude is like watering those sprouts. The more grateful you are, the more reasons life gives you to be grateful. But complain for 5 minutes, and you pull your mind back into a desert of regret. True success doesn't begin with ambition, it begins with gratitude. Because a grateful person, even with empty hands, still feels rich. And an ungrateful one, even owning the world, still feels poor. I know, the word discipline makes many people feel trapped. It reminds them of limits, obligations, and doing things they don't want to do. But the more I work with adults, the clearer this truth becomes. Discipline isn't a prison, it's the only ticket to freedom. One of my students, a freelance photographer, once told me, "I chose freedom, but the freer I am, the more out of control I feel. I stay up late, procrastinate, then blame myself." I said, "You didn't lose your freedom, you just haven't learned how to manage it." 3 months later, he came back transformed. He woke up at 6 a.m., exercised, and followed a set work schedule. He smiled and said, "Now I feel truly free, not because I have less to do, but because I control my time." That's what discipline really is, the strength to stay on the right path even when your emotions want to wander off. You can't rely on feelings forever, they change every hour. But discipline is a promise you make to yourself, and keeping that promise is how you show yourself respect. A Stanford University study found that people who maintain consistent daily routines report 20–40% higher satisfaction and productivity than those who work purely by inspiration. Discipline creates rhythm, and rhythm creates strength. Think of life as a piece of music. If you play out of rhythm, no one wants to listen. But with discipline, every note falls into place, and you become the conductor of your own orchestra. So don't fear discipline. See it as an act of self-love. Disciplined people aren't rigid, they simply choose freedom with direction. And that's the truest kind of freedom. Freedom from laziness, from fear, from the chaos within yourself. Let me ask you something. Do you believe that evil truly exists? Not in movies, not in stories, but right here, in real life, where people can hurt each other, lie, betray, and destroy all for personal gain. If you've ever witnessed that, then you must also believe this. If evil is real, then goodness must be real too. And somewhere between the two, we each have to choose a side. I once worked with a man who had made terrible mistakes. Years later, he told me, "No one saved me, only faith stopped me." When he began to believe that God was still watching over him, he started living differently. He slowed down, spoke more truthfully, and loved more deeply. Because faith isn't just religion, it's the awareness that you are being seen. And when you believe a higher power is watching, you walk straighter even when no one is watching you. Now, imagine this. If the world were to lose faith in goodness, in God, in justice, what would be left? A society that worships material things, treats deceit as wisdom, and lets fear become its new religion. That's exactly what the Matrix wants for us, to forget the light inside ourselves. When you keep your faith, you're holding a torch in the dark. Faith gives you the strength to stand when the world tells you to kneel. Faith helps you speak the truth, even when silence would be safer. And faith, even as small as a mustard seed, can move an entire life. Don't ever think you're too modern to believe in goodness. Because without faith, we're nothing more than cold machines. But with faith, we become human again, beings capable of love, fear, and the longing for light. I know no one likes pain. No one wakes up in the morning saying, "I hope something terrible happens today." But I've lived long enough and worked with enough people to understand one thing. God teaches us through pain, not through comfort. I once asked a man who had lost everything, "Do you regret those difficult years?" He smiled and said, "No. Without them, I would never have learned how strong I could be or who truly stood by me." That's when I realized pain teaches lessons that happiness never can. Have you noticed? When everything is easy, we often forget to be grateful. But when we lose something, only then do we see its true value. God uses our struggles to call us back, to remind us we've drifted too far from what really matters. A psychologist once said, "In school, you study first and take the test later. But with God, you take the test first, and then you learn the lesson." And I believe that's true. Every hardship, every loss, is a test not to break you, but to show you how strong you can rise again. Imagine life as a gym for the soul. Every time you endure, you're strengthening your spirit. Muscles only grow when they're stretched, and so does the soul. So when life knocks you down, don't ask, "Why me?" Instead, try asking, "God, what are you trying to teach me?" Maybe He's training you to be stronger, calmer, and kinder to yourself. Pain isn't the end. It's an invitation from God to turn the page, to live with deeper understanding and gratitude. Have you ever lied to yourself? Not the kind that fools others, but the soft lies, like, "I'm fine. I'm happy. Who? I'll do it when I have time." They sound harmless, but that's how we quietly lose connection with our own soul. I've coached many successful people, and what hurts them most isn't failure. It's living too long pretending. Pretending to be okay, pretending to be strong, pretending they don't need anyone. But the more we pretend, the further we drift from who we really are. Like staring into a mirror every day and no longer recognizing the face inside. One of my mentors once told me, "Freedom doesn't begin with success. It begins the moment you face the truth. The truth that you're tired, that you're lonely, that you're not living in alignment with your deepest values." When you dare to face that truth without running away, you open the first door to inner peace. Think of life as a dark room. You can't clean it unless you turn on the light. Inner honesty is that light, sometimes harsh, sometimes uncomfortable, but without it, you'll never be able to clear the mess inside. Modern psychology agrees. Modern psychology agrees. People who practice honest self-reflection make better decisions, show more resilience, and are far less likely to fall into depression. Because when you're honest with yourself, you stop performing. And when you stop performing, you start to shine. Inner honesty doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. And in a noisy world where everyone wants to be right, those who dare to be real are the ones who are truly free. You've probably heard enough about artificial intelligence, about technology, about the future where machines do everything for us. But here's the thing: that future isn't scary. Because machines can replicate everything except the soul. I believe the coming era won't belong to the smartest, nor to the richest, but to those with the strongest souls. Those who live truthfully, love deeply, and keep their goodness. In a world obsessed with calculation, those who don't just exist, but know why they exist. A friend of mine, a tech engineer in Toronto, once said, "AI used to scare me until I realized it's only intelligent, not compassionate." Since then, he's been teaching his kids kindness, how to say thank you, how to apologize, how to listen, because he knows if his children learn to love and forgive, they'll never be replaceable. We're entering an age where degrees, speed, and skills are no longer our greatest advantage. What will define us is the depth of our soul. The more you understand yourself, the more you love. The more you stand up for what's right, the stronger you become amid constant change. So remember this: true strength isn't in your muscles, your bank account, or your follower count. True strength lies in your ability to keep your heart warm in a cold world, to keep your faith when others lose theirs, and to keep your light even when all around you is darkness.